Well, hello everyone. Your student Matthew Art Institute speaking here, and talk about right here, for my portfolio page, and that I guess we're gonna say like a portfolio site, but this right here, is actually a project that I went and worked right here in the classroom. So if anybody warrants us toward it, why is it that maybe that if they visited the site that has not been updated in quite a while, just like talk about for Wi-Fi Discover, and a few things that I did update too. You have right here is talk about the. I'm sure most of us have maybe seen this right here already. But I have right here for copyright. You see Matthew. You asked McGuire for 2016. So I ask anybody like, yeah, please respect my copyright also, and as well as the other sites as well that did the work for what I do. But I may only want to show everybody here is that this right here this example right here of it's like of a the assignment I was working on, of course, in the classroom, and then for a way of how I promote it as well. And then this right here, I show everybody here is this right here would be the site right here is like if it were up live. You have right here is the site right here for your Mat 7184W4 AI sites, site portfolio / gallery HTML. So these right here would be that this right here would be the actual site right here, and some of it that if I say what for about anything that's modified, and I'm like I keep thinking modified basically meaning for updated any changes like that that's going on on the project. So it's like anything about based on Dreamweaver, but you see right here is was a few projects that I worked on using the Adobe Photoshop, and as well as for a little InDesign. So these right here would be some examples right here. And I was thinking about is that, yeah, while I was putting this together, that these two pictures right here, including this picture right here, that of course you made it to the finals for my portfolio, and I was pretty surprised that that they were just like be accepted to where that just lowering the pixels as well, just to be able to create a website to where it shows the work that I do, especially. And these right here will be projects I worked on in class right here. But then these three right here weren't. So I was like, well, yeah, your dreams in the night right here, and you have right here is the Matthew Student of the Week, and then the Matthew America. So these right here, we would only see about maybe 8 or so thumbnail images of examples of my work as a designer. And then thinking is to where that, yeah, you go to the next page and talks about your galleries, but you see right here is that this right here will be my Dreamweaver work, and we can see that there's like a variety, number of files right here that if anybody knows about too much about the coding that you have right here is with it, the coding that you see right here. And, just not too many images, but mainly I just updated like the context, and then as well as like for me for being a student, and so that's just the thing that if anybody warns us to her that yeah, between what you call maybe write down notes on maybe line paper compared to working with the code, that if you want to look at it is toward it, yeah, that for like CSS, HTML, that these are what you call that if you want to call it like it's like what I usually call like a document, but then some that may say that if you want to call it like maybe a planned agenda to where before the project is finished on a Dreamweaver, that this is basically that what you see right here is that before anything before it's broadcast live, that this is basically a work, a document, the original document, if we want to call it maybe like the original work right here before anything else that is added on. And this right here looks pretty confusing. I know anybody that may warrant, or if you be looking at the website live right here, this right here, if anybody say that they were to be searching the web browser and actually find the site, and then they're like, okay, well that's neat right there, and then they're able to scroll up and down, and then actually able to look at the. It's like for Verizon, you have right there is this right here is like the home page it is, and then this right here like the gallery right here, and then that the style CSS. So if anybody wants this story, yeah, it's style CSS. What does that basically mean? I guess according to my just from how if we want to add anything that like the main images, like you want to add like a measures the length that for the 900 pixels. So that I guess if you want to call it like that, what you call is that would be uh, CSS. I keep thinking is to where that's for like what you call is for the inside. As to where if you want to you wanted to go ahead and place maybe a border, and if you want to download what you call is like a border, like if you want it's download the border box, you just to be able to place the image, the placements, if you want to call them the placements, is that you want to use those just to be able to build a website. And some of it, they say that that some of the work that what you call is either created in Photoshop or Illustrator, or it's downloaded from the web, so that way you can use it for a website. And second is toward for the measurements, as well as I have right here's the float, and then the header left, and then the header right. So these right here, that I'm like, that it looks very confusing, but then whenever you actually kind of go back and kind of review all the work, and just to kind of get a better understanding about, just like if you were rebuilding an engine to a car, that just making sure that the belts and all the wheel bearings and everything else was all assembled, and as well as the fuel pump and the water pump were all attached. Everything was like a lot of the parts were all in good operating condition as well. And but you have right here is, I don't know if anybody, and I know that if anybody were to try to go to that website that for my portfolio, that be able to read this right here, talk about for your students, for the Art Institute. And then you say, my name is Matthew Sean McGuire. I am a designer. My name is Matthew Sean McGuire. I'm a designer. My major is for digital design, and I have been into art and creative work since I was 10. And after getting my own PC and my own computer, and I have been able to do more practicing and gaining for skills with my source of education for what I create, and ideas other clients you find useful. And many years of Microsoft Paint, then being introduced to the new programs, and I find the programs very interactive. And even if they get challenging, that my years of education back from when I was in the 5th grade, when my teachers mentioned about my freehand work, they recommended me to take the classes, more art classes, even at the Art Institute classes, for the different, for how difficult the work can be. You still work on the skill, for any ideas that any ideas that I can come up with. I do think it finds others to be interesting. Since I was 10, I would color a lot of coloring books, and then until I decided to see how far I can go into what I could with it to be an artist, and what I could come up with. One of the my main majors was to earn a good education, and knowing about what good jobs. One of those great say when I could create my own character, and knowing some way of how find it that they're pretty hard, but I find it very interesting for how other viewers find it interesting as a professional. I have graduated with my digital design diploma, so if anybody wants us toward it, that they look at this, and some updates and maybe some corrections too. So it's like, I say that you look at that and want to know that this is something that I'm sure anybody would say that maybe they may dream about something like this. Maybe they were a kid that that you want to invite a few friends to a party, and like really, has anybody heard of sending any type of and I know that they can maybe do it on Facebook, but I'm talking about like a portfolio here. And anybody say that would they do it just to invite people to the party? Like, hey, I'm having a party, or I'm having like a little get together, a reunion over here at my house. I'm gonna go ahead and post an invitation online, and people who may not even be related to you, or somebody else that may see it, like say that. So really, I'm like, how a professional that may connect with other clients and help other people to find your work especially. And you're like Warren toward it. That's what you call like the odds and the evens. It's like that you don't think it's a very good idea. Okay, it's an alright idea. So that's just the thing that you have right here is for about. And then you have right here, go ahead and select for context. And I know that this right here will be my contact information as well. You have right here for for LinkedIn as well as for Google Plus and for Facebook and YouTube. So if anybody want to know about for ways of contact, and this right here will be a page right here that if anybody warns us toward it, yeah, that I can maybe go to that right here. I might go to the page live and go ahead and click on contacts here. See, click on contacts, and so there will be a way to go ahead and which I don't know if it would work since this was for like to, but still that I can suggest like anybody that if anybody want to send me a contact that this right here will be the link, and then to go there, and then they will be able to comment on there if they say that that I would probably say that how would it work necessarily, but still using this of course for school purposes. It's like as a designer that if anybody that want to know, I'm like please just like if you will be visiting any other type of a website maybe for a small business that your name, and then as well as that for so any information that if you want to know a little bit more about my work especially, it's like please enter your the information for how you want to be contacted as well. So if anybody will want to, or that look at that there, and they may think that it looks pretty interesting, and think it's like for anything maybe based on like maybe on a telephone book, but anyway, but you have right here, this right here, and if anybody warrants this tour, they have a contact right there, and then you have right here is like for the gallery, and the way the light box, it's pronounced, I guess it's called the light box right here. I see that right there. I'm like besides, you say it's besides like the placements, I guess it's not really pronounced the play. I guess if you want to call it like the placements, but I guess you have the light box. The light box is so that I say one toward it. That there may be about maybe one or two ways. I don't know, maybe only one way. I'm like that. It's really about my experience with Dreamweaver and thinking this to where that you build a website and thinking this to where that it's fun to go ahead and do it by go ahead and create a website by scratch, but then you're just trying to figure out what do you call this again, this piece to the puzzle, what do you call that, or what do you call this, and sounds like well, maybe not everybody knows exactly what it's called, but what are you using it for? I say, well, I actually I'm using it for a presentation. Actually, I'm using it for a presentation. I don't know what it's called, but I'm using it for a presentation. So if anybody wanted to, or at the time, do people necessarily think about it shows how much you really know about it. But still, if anybody wanted to, or you look at a portfolio, and then people say, you talk about your work, but then you don't know what this is called. You don't know what this tool is called, but you just kind of know a little bit more about what it does, and you want to go and do a presentation, but you just don't know what it's called. If anybody say, you've been there to where after you take the test, you're trying to make a presentation, and I say, well, I'm trying to remember what it's called, but I'm just going to go ahead and describe about what it does. So I say, well, I guess that'll be what you call your mystery story about how to figure that out. It's like you don't know what it's called, but you know what it does. But anyway, but you see right here is that this right here would be my portfolio right here, and if in case if anybody warns us toward it, that with this this portfolio page right here, that the gallery, and I know like anybody that may want a tour, even the parents or anybody like that that may suggest this tour, please. It's like other people who go to your site that they would ask as to if you could update the portfolio often just to show some of your recent work. But I'm like, well, really that I just really think though that this right here was mainly for the class project, ways on how to promote this project as well. And I have more examples, of course, on my Behance page. I'm like, if anybody warns this to her, that I have more examples on my Behance page. and I can go ahead and add this. I'm like go ahead and pull up that the code. It's like if anybody say that go ahead and add that in. It's like Matthew MCG on Behance. So please check me out on Behance, and I would have more examples, more updated examples on my Behance, because people understand is to where that in order to be able to edit the project, that they can maybe overriding. There may be a few overriding errors that may come up as well, and I guess you could say that one project that may not be able to hold everything. So it's like just to be able to I can go ahead and refresh that also, but that might appear on the site as well. But anyway, but talk about right here is like but it may not be in the correct position. Yeah, there it is. Matt underscore going on Behance.net. So that's just a thing that if anybody warns us toward that any more work that they would like to see based on my portfolio, they can go ahead and check me out on LinkedIn or YouTube or on Behance, and just to be able to look at my work, because maybe in case if anybody asks, is that why is it you have not changed anything about finished projects, anything related to your portfolio. And I just really think, though, is toward it that there could be some things that could be replaced and changed, but unfortunately, that I have quite a few many. I'm like that. In my case, that I have many. I'm not just going to say a dozen. I'm not just going to say several. I have many of other projects I have worked on from this past year that not all of them, of course, are on this portfolio. And to ask anybody that please check up. You can go ahead and look at my work on YouTube also, but then please check out me on my Behance on Behance.net, and then I would have more projects on there, because it's like with my Dreamweaver work. If I were to be starting with the project by scratch, and then that may take me additional 3 weeks to maybe to update that and put that together. Tell anybody here, if you are if anybody who is really interested in what I'm doing, as for a digital designer, please, check me out. Please look at my latest work. For more information, please look at my work on Behance. So that's the way I think about it, is that I could update this my Dreamweaver project right here, but then on the other hand, that I know that this right here, I think that contains enough information just for to tell people about if I graduated or not. And I could probably say that this project right here was mainly for is to state that I have graduated, not really about is to where that hey, you have to keep everybody updated about what's going on, but state is to where that this is my work, and then the state that that I have graduated in the school I went to. So here's an example of my design work using Microsoft Paint. So I use this right here. If anybody warns as to where how come you didn't use one of your pictures like based on from the home page, and if anybody warns as to where based on the home page right here, and see for about, and see here for about, but still that but for anything so I could have maybe used this right here as like for my about page right here, or anything about you have right there. It's like for any source of ID, but study as a designer. So if anybody warns us toward it, that for between the flip flopping of for what you want to decide for what I want to work on, especially, and what I want to work with. But anyway, but talk about for Dreamweaver work, you have right here is like the codes right here, and so these right here, if anybody warns us to that that based on the purpose about being a designer, a digital designer, is to where that you worked with only one piece, but then it will be like altogether 5 HTML. There will be 5 different HTML documents. So that basically means is to where if you click on one, and then this right here, this this portion, this the coding, if you want to call it the coding, it's like a document right here is that contains the information about for the project as well, and it's like that you're going to be starting by a page, and this looks a lot more confusing compared to the live view. And anybody like want to, or yeah, you want to see some color, this right here would, I guess, if you want to call it like the other side of the room, the other side of the project. This right here would be an example right here of when it's finished. And I know that maybe not everything is finished, but this right here would be an example right here of whenever the portfolio is finished. But then at this right here, this other side basically means to where that it's coming up to the starting point, or if you want to do any editing with it. And if anybody warns us toward you want to do any editing with it, but I'm like replace any images or anything like that. But I just really think that yeah, for maybe by next year, by the year 2017, by next spring, if I want to go ahead and do anything further with that. But if anybody wanted to, or yeah, any of my latest project, please check me out on Behance. I would have more details on there. Other than that, with this portfolios right here that on Dreamweaver, and I know that more likely I'll have more examples right here. And if anybody wants this story, yeah, this right here, right, that'll look like from the tablet. I guess if that's from the tablet view, the other tablet size, and then this right here will be what it looks like from the mobile size. So that's just a thing that yeah, mobile size. Okay, go ahead. Yeah, so you'll be able to look at my work, for that would be a look like. So if anybody would say you get on a smartphone, you would be able to look at that, from a mobile view. So that's just a way if I say about for anything about galleries, especially. But that's right there. That'll be a project right there. If anybody say any changes you have, you'll be able to refresh it. And then have right here are these which like the left letter. The header left, and is the divs, and it's like the closing tab. So putting together a portfolio page that sounds pretty. I'm sure anybody probably say that this sounds very interesting, but then when we go to the coding right here, is that really sounds very complicated. So I guess right now it's all about. I just really think the best suggestion really is to where that you just kind of study this, as to where that what we see right here, and an understanding about how the controls work and what they mean. And I just really think that, like for the hypertype markup language, that really, I just really think that it requires a lot of English study. I'm like, if I say that, yeah, you're really not working with anything about maybe the paint tool or the burn tool or anything like that on Photoshop with this hypertype markup language. You're basically working on keys on the keyboard, that the 1, 2, 3, and then plus the closing tabs and opening tabs. And so you have quite a bit of that, for how you want to place the main tab. You have right here's the header, and then as well as the body, and then as well as the divs, and then class and your thumbnail. So you have right here, or like if you want to call it, is to where how can I explain it right here? Is that from coding compared to working with like a JPEG, from like on Photoshop. And I could probably say that, yeah, that it's with coding, that if you want to give it like, say, like a type of language, that working on a portfolio, that like I said a number of times, just like writing on a chalkboard, that you would see right here is that with anything about what you call this, like whenever we see this right here, is that it's basically that you want to go ahead and start by scratch, and so you're like starting by scratch, from the original, and anything that you want to update and edit, and then you want to go ahead and maybe write a paragraph or two. But before you start out with that, you want to go ahead and give it like a subject. So you have right here is like the divs and class and thumbnail. So you want to go ahead and type in there about maybe the destination. It's like for what it is. If it's a thumbnail, and an image, I guess so these right here will be like the file sources right here. And then for the title, Matthew America. So I guess it's basically that yeah, that if I can explain this clearly to anybody who's interested in, like, about this HTML, that you're putting it together, but then you're just it's not like as to where that you just dump it all in a pile. You're not really dumping it all in a pile just yet. What you basically are is to where you're programming it to where you're what you call, you're labeling it before you put the papers in the file. You had to label the file for what it is, and then for what goes in there, and then if this file is coming from another location, go ahead and that information would already be on there before it goes in a file. So basically, if you want to call it like, yeah, you're transferring those files using a different program. If we want to call it like maybe like a transfer that you don't have to give and they suggest that don't give this file a different name. You can use that same file, but you're converting it to a new file using another program, and as well as for anything working for HTML. So if anybody warns us to where this right here seems very confusing, and so this right here, these right here, if you want to call it like we should call blah blah blah, but it's this right here. If you want to say it's a type of language to what you're given to where that whenever you look at the live view and basically for what's doing, just to be able to place everything about the tag, these we call these buttons. They may look like buttons from the website, but what you see right here is like from what you call this you say the other side from the original is to where you're basically giving it, like I say, a destination. And so that's just the way I think about it, is that there may be a number of explanations about how we explain it. You have right here for page, and then so this right here, that you are basically working like the controls are being set at about right here. And it looks like, if anybody warns us to where it looks very confusing, and it just almost looks like this right here would be like, say, this is the plan right here, and then before anything that's getting updated, it basically takes place right here and then if I wanted to, between the style CSS and the HTML. And with the CSS, you're basically you're working between the inside of the HTML plus the outside. So this what I think though is to where that it's all about being a designer, just to understand about how all this stuff works. Being a designer, I just really think that just giving up me the opportunity to where I can really understand it just a little bit more, and I could probably tell anybody here, ever since I was in the 5th grade, I had a lot of complications with English. So if anybody wanted to, or that that a lot of this HTML stuff, that really that for anybody who's used to a lot of that freehand drawing shapes and working with the colors, would more likely say is to her that they don't really want to have to deal with this, and any other program that they use, maybe in the Creative Cloud, that they really don't want to have to deal with a lot of stuff and try to understand about how it all works. But on the other hand, just think about it to where maybe something that something new. I'm like, if you're just something that you want to see for sure, and just to be able to get into a new career, I guess really, I'm like, well, what can you really say as to where that this is a new career right here, other than what you call, if you're so used to working minimum wage or so, if you're so used to what you call, staying with one career for so many times. If you're used to staying in one career for 5 years and you want to move on to something else, so this right here that may look interesting to almost everybody, but then going to this coding portion of it, you're like, say, well, I'll go and count on somebody else to take care of that for me, or but still, I could tell anybody here, it may take us longer just to figure it out, but just think about it, to where this longer though is to where how much that you're willing to learn about it. Not really about the fact about, oh, is it easy or is it hard, or do you like it, or if you don't like it, then there may be a lot of things that maybe we don't like about it, especially. Maybe one thing I do like about it, maybe, is because it could be what you call to where, you know what, I never heard of it, and it looks very interesting, but still, that if there's going to be a situation as to where that you're trying to get it done, and then something's stalling, and then you're trying to get it figured out. So really, that for being a designer, it's not like only it doesn't just take a half an hour just to be able to put this project together. Where we're talking about close to maybe sometimes it can maybe take a full 30 days, just to be able to get all together, and then maybe to be able to reach out to other clients, other clients who find your work very interesting, and they say that, I never heard of it. Can you please explain it more? And I would suggest anybody that, please look at this as like a study guide. And if we're wondering to where that you don't, really, that a study guide, like, well, why would I, like, well, this is a project that was already done. It was completed. It was something that you created, and that we may be used to that, to where the point to where that anything that we create, that oh yeah, you only keep it for a certain amount of time and you decide to get rid of it. Paper that you wrote, that was only something for fun. But really, this is like a career right here. This is supposed to be a career for professionals. So if anybody warns us to her, that we may not think that nobody's really interested about what this is about, but then there may be some people out there that maybe that more likely are interested about how it works and then what it is. And so in order to be able to get into that, anything further with that, it's like talk about for students right here. But anyway, you see right here is that say for like this would be tablet view, but anyway, but they already have enough with me talking, especially if anybody say that, yeah, I'll go ahead and show everybody here that yeah, this right here, link right here, Matthew, it's like you go and check me out right here. You go to the website, and I'm sure anybody say, yeah, let me know if you have any questions, especially. I'm like, it's like just like on it, for the Wirefly Discover. I'm like, if anybody want to know a little bit more about that project as well, I'll do my best, to answer any questions that remain as well. For any updates that come up as well. But other than that, thanks for watching, everyone. May make 25, and then talk about, say, for my Dreamweaver work, and have a great day.